Watch the Throne was this last weekend, and while it had some amazing matches, it got a lot of people talking about a bunch of stuff. And for the record, I normally go over the North American tournaments here other than specific runs at other tournaments, but if you are curious about how like the weekly Japanese scene is doing, you can always check out Rosebloom on Twitter. They talk about it constantly, a lot, and you'll learn a lot of information. That's what I do. I just get all that stuff on my timeline, and I learn so much about the Japanese scene all the time. So if you're interested in that, check it out. But this was not in Japan. This was in North America, of course, in San Jose, which is where Genesis is, and Watch the Throne was crazy, so let's talk about it. So of course, like every invitational type event, there was pools. So let's talk about the pools. First off, we had the pool of Mia, Tweak, Kurama, and Bloom Forever. Unfortunately, this pool just went exactly as it was predicted. The first seed, Mia, went 3-2 against Tweak, 3-0 on Kurama, 3-0 on Bloom. Tweak lost to Mia, but 3-2'd Kurama, and 3-1 Bloom. Kurama lost to Mia and Tweak, and then beat Bloom, and then Bloom unfortunately went 0-3. So Mia automatically made it to top 16 winner side. Tweak had to play in the gauntlet, Kurama had to play in the gauntlet, and Bloom had to play in the gauntlet. For the next pool, Sonics dominated his pool. He lost a single game to Louis Money, almost lost 2 games because I think Louis Money misplayed a timeout situation as far as what I heard. I didn't watch the set. Sonics 3-0'd Ken very aggressively, 3-0'd Leo, and 3-0'd Louis Money. Ken lost to Sonics and Leo, but beat Louis Money. MKLeo, after he lost to Sonics, beat Ken, so, Sonics is just different, but unfortunately lost to Louis Money, and Louis Money lost to both the Sonic players, but then beat MKLeo, which put a 3-way tie in the pool, the 3 players at 1 and 2, other than Sonics, who was just 3-0 in the pool. But Ken had the best game count of everyone at 4 and 6 compared to the 4 and 7 of Louis Money and MKLeo. Actually, let me move my thing up here, at least for this section. So Ken got second seed, which means he only had to play 1 game in the gauntlet. And because both of these 2 players were 4 and 7, it went to the head-to-head game count. And since Luis... Oh yeah, he's not Louis Money anymore, he's just Luis. So Luis beat MKLeo, so Luis got 3rd seed and Leo got 4th seed in the pool. For the next pool, Akola, this one also went kind of as expected. Akola swept his pool, beating Gluto and Dabuz 3-1 and beating WebJP 3-2 in a very, very close set. WebJP, shoutouts to him for the tournament overall. Gluto lost to Akola, beat Dabuz, beat WebJP in another very close set. Dabuz lost to Akola and Gluto, but then beat WebJP 3-0, and WebJP, after taking 2 games from both Akola and Gluto, which is more than any other player in the pool did, ends up going 0-3. And for the final pool, we had Spargo, Light, Apollo Kage, and Tarek. This pool actually didn't go as expected. This was the only pool where the first seed didn't get first seed because Light actually upset Spargo 3-0 in dominant fashion, and even though he lost to Apollo Kage and beat Tarek in 1-3 and 3-1 respectively, he had the better game count because he 3-0'd Spargo, because Spargo also lost 2 games to Apollo Kage, which low-key Apollo Kage, if he just charged up for its match a little bit longer, would have won the set, and even he beat Tarek. He's losing more games than Light did, so even though they both ended up being 2-1, Light was 7-4, which is a higher win percentage than 8-5 of Apollo Kage, which was higher than the 6-6 of Spargo, because Apollo Kage beat Tarek, beat Light, and then lost to Spargo. And Tarek unfortunately went 0-3 in the pool, taking a game from all of Spargo, Light, and Apollo Kage. So I mean, a little rough in that regard, but this pool went kind of crazy. So again, all of these gauntlets shook out in a way that was quite interesting because it put, I think, Light, Akola, Mia, and Sonics just didn't have to play the gauntlet, and everyone else had to. So in the first match, Dabuz did beat Bloom Forever 3-1, which was a little bit of a surprise because I feel like Lima has been doing very well against Dabuz. I think he's beaten the last couple of times he's played him, but Dabuz said, well, it's not Lima, so I got this, and then ended up also beating Ken 3-2 in a nail-biter set. So Dabuz went to the winner's bracket, and both Bloom and Ken went into losers. In the second pool, Luis beat Tarek 3-0, but unfortunately then ran into Tweak, who 3-0'd him quite right back. So both Luis and Tarek were in losers, and Tweak went into the winner's side. Kurama beat WebJP 3-1 in a notoriously very hard matchup for Sheik, and also beat Apollo Kage right after 3-1. So Kurama went into winners, whereas Apollo Kage and WebJP started in losers. And for the final gauntlet, we had Spargo having to fight Leo because they were the 3rd and 4th seeds of their pool. So Spargo won that 3-1 and then also had to play Gluttony, and he won 3-0. So Spargo went into the winner's bracket, which was very important for the rest of the tournament because if he was in losers, this would have been a very different bracket. But both Gluto and Leo were in losers. This is a crazy gauntlet. This is insane. So now let's get into the bracket. First off, in the loser side, we had Bloom Forever beat Luis. So Luis took 2 sets this tournament, being he took the set from Leo and he took the set in Gauntlet against someone, I forget who. The Bloom Forever did take a set, so we did not go 0-5. Gluttony beat Tarek 3-1. The only 2 Europeans in this event had to play in losers, which put Tarek into an 0-5 position. But of course, Tarek is an amazing player. There's nothing against him. He had a very hard pool because all the pools were hard, and he had a very hard gauntlet because all the gauntlets were hard. And then he fought Gluto, who's like top 5 in the world right now. So rough on him, but he's had a great stay. I know he's been in the US for a while, so good stuff to him. Ken defeated WebJP, so WebJP also went 0-5, but again, WebJP took Akola to game 5, took Luto to game 5, and I think took a game from every single opponent other than Dabuz. So again, I think WebJP is one of the most hot players right now. He's just going on the up and up and up, and he just had a really rough bracket because all these players are crazy. And then we had MK Leo beat Apollo Kage. So even though Apollo Kage beat Light, someone in winner's bracket, he ended up getting 13th place. But of course, we all know AK is amazing. He's been doing well for quite some time, but it was nice to see him get some good wins under his belt, and it felt good to see Leo, win a set and not do really, really poorly. So then back in the winner's side, we had Mia beat Dabuz with Steve. Mia actually went Steve that set instead of Game & Watch because of what happened at SmashCon with 2 losses. So rough on that end for Dabuz. So that put him into loser's bracket. Tweak beat Light pretty dominantly in a 3-0 from what I remember. I was watching that set on and off because I think that was around when I was playing at Santa Paws. So Tweak beat that. 3-0 Sonics on Kurama, which that makes sense because it's Sonics versus a character that has to get in with no great projectile, so that makes sense. And then Spargo beat Akola going full Aegis this set. Took a game 3, but Spargo, of course, really good at that matchup. He's played against the other great Aegises like Cosmos and MK Leo pretty consistently, so it's going to be a rough time for Akola to beat Spargo in that matchup, considering, of course, what ended up happening in the rest of the tournament with Spargo winning. So, whatever. So in losers round 2, Akola cleaned up Bloom Forever 3-0, Gluto 3-0'd Kurama, which that's a little bit of a surprise because I know Kurama has a set win on Gluto, so 3-0 was kind of a surprise to me. Ken beat Light, which is insane because I think Light has lost like a single set to a Sonic ever in Smash Ultimate before this, and losing here to not get top 8 at Walk the Throne when he was already in winners and also won a good matchup here in Fox versus Diddy Kong when Light had beat him at Port Priority. So this was a crazy 9th place for Light. Kind of unfortunate. And then most unfortunate, honestly, is the fact that Mia beat Dabuz, which put Dabuz right into MK Leo, and, whatever you want to say about Leo, he's really good versus Dabuz, so that put Dabuz at 9th, and so the top 8 was Mia versus Tweak, Sonic Spargo, Akola Gluto, and Ken MK Leo. Ken ended up actually beating MK Leo's Aegis and Rob. He just played super well, and then Akola had a really close set with Gluttony. It ended up trailing off at the end. I think game 5 was it was even, and then suddenly it was very not playing up to the standards this weekend. There's a difference between, something I want to point out really quick is just, I see people in chat, and this is no shots to them, saying Light wasn't playing well this weekend. There is a big difference between playing poorly in a day and a weekend, because I'm not going to say that Light 3-0ing Spargo, he's playing bad that weekend, but Sunday you might play bad because that was not the final day of the tournament, so you end up having to play the tournament on a different day, which becomes a little rough. Mia repeating his pool set 3-1 Tweak, and Spargo 3-0'd Sonics. I know that Spargo, Spargo Sonics is always very back and forth, so it was surprising to see a 3-0, especially with the Cloud, because I know Spargo has been favoring going Aegis in that matchup, but I guess wanted limit Blade Beam or something. I didn't watch the set. I've watched so much Spargo versus Sonics, and even though I enjoy it, it wasn't my priority. I was rather just playing friendlies and stuff. Tweak ended up having to play Akola. Oh, he went Sephiroth? I didn't realize he went Sephiroth. I saw the Diddy Steve frustration clip because that was shared around on Twitter a lot. I didn't know he went Sephiroth the other 2 games with a 1 and a 2 stock. So Akola just, not really answerable for Tweak right now. I know that's extended for a while. Tweak has struggled with the top Steves, including Pocket, for quite some time. So, it's a hard matchup, and Akola is, of course, amazing. And Akola was, not dying. He was building so many blocks. And then Sonics beat Ken, which, again, a repeat of the pools match. Ken actually tried Sephiroth for the first 2 games, but ended up losing also the Sonic Ditto. Sonics then continued his dominance in the Steve matchup. Sonics continued his dominance in Sonic vs. Steve and 3-1'd Akola yet again, although I think the other set was 3-0, but a 2-0 record on Akola now. Sonics also beat Mia 3-1 because Spargo beat Mia 3-1, which that one's not a surprise. Spargo's really good against Game & Watch with all the experience he has against Meister, and has also beat him at KageDB number 10. So Sonics end up beating Mia as well to have the Spargo vs. Sonics Grand Finals, where Spargo ended up winning. And honestly, this has some very interesting implications for at least people's perception of who the best player is, because of course Spargo winning a major is crazy important. Sonics continuing to do super consistently. Like, both of them had a bad SmashCon at 25th place for Sonics and like 49th for Spargo, but both of them have been doing really well other than that. And then of course you have the other top 2 players in the world, Mia and Akola, continue to get top 4, not really lose to anyone other than the people in the top 4. So it's a really interesting question, which I'm going to be going over in another video, talking about, you know, like what I think the rankings are going to be, and you know what you're going to value, so like what people go where. But yeah, I mean, I need to watch some sets from this. I'm definitely going to watch some of the closer sets, like WebGP's sets probably, as well as maybe like Leo, AK, or something like that. Like, some of those gauntlets seemed insane, and some of the dominance from some of these players was incredible. But I do want to watch some hype sets from here, which means I'm not watching the top 4, because all I heard people do was complain about that while Santa Paws top 8 was happening. So I'm probably not going to watch those. Good stuff to everyone, like no shots, but I'm not going to put them on this channel because no one's going to watch my video talking about the videos that people didn't watch.